I have so many questions about charts and no one to help me. If only there was a place I could go to learn which doesn't cost a fortune.
There is such a place. It's my Patreon. It's £7.50 a month and you get 2 live streams a week. Ask me anything you like about any chart that you want.
What about trading platforms?
Well, in the video description I've got a link for all the best ones and you can get up to 20% off all your trading fees for life.
Thanks CryptoClick, you the man bro.
Hello everybody, welcome back. So I'm going to try and squeeze as much information into this video as possible. It's going to incorporate altcoins, traditional markets, commodities as well, all moving into next week when the CPI data comes through for America. Probably going to be high, as we imagine. Everything is just getting higher and higher. Doesn't really matter what anyone's doing. It's just continuing to go higher. That's fine. So we'll assume that it'll be higher. Last time it was higher and the markets weren't particularly phased by it because we were in the midst of the everything bounce. And just as I called the everything bounce due to commodity prices topping out and stocks bottoming out, and we managed to make an absolute killing just on stocks alone over the last 2 months, I now feel as though the inverse is going to happen. So I'm not going to coin it the everything dump or everything crash, although it could turn into that. I think that'd be a bit too sensational. The reason I went to town talking about the everything, what did I call it? The everything pump or the everything bounce is because it was so obvious and it was against what everyone was saying. Everyone was saying, "No, you don't understand. The markets are going to go down. It will never go back up." And then lo and behold, we did 40% on Tesla. We did 20% mostly across the boards on indexes. We made a killing, and then all the money that we made on altcoins did very well out of that. So it was a relatively simple play by using commodity prices looking topped and indexes effectively looking bottomed, and then playing those. So now I feel as though the inverse is going to happen as we approach this descending trend line of this descending triangle formation on the Nasdaq. It'll be reasonable to assume a rejection from there. And if that's the case, as we know that Bitcoin and crypto is correlated dramatically with the Nasdaq, you would expect them to come down also, although that might not be the case. We're looking at one chart here when we're assuming something, and you know what assumptions do, they make an ass out of you and me. But that is the case. So Nasdaq does look like it would probably most likely get a rejection from this, as it is a bearish formation that is a significant resistance. And if we turn on the indicators, which I know a lot of people don't like, your charts are too noisy, man. I can't make sense of these charts, man. Well, they have to, in order for me to have an edge, I do need to have them on. I appreciate if they are a little loud for you, but I do need them. 200 exponential coming around here, same with the top of the Bollinger Band here on the daily as well. So, excuse me, that does add more weight to the idea that this is a rejection area. On Bitcoin's chart on its own, if we look at the 4-hourly, so far it's okay. All right, it's not a problem. And the second golden cross got retested, so this is all okay in the context of what could be a move up. However, there is a subtle issue going on right now, ever so slightly, which is that we are forming potentially a short signal if we were to close below this cloud, right? So the cloud being more or less the 200 exponential on the 4-hourly. We've got the Chiku span is going to be closing around there. So if we make a 4-hourly closure below 22,500 or below this 200 exponential, we would have incurred a short signal on the Ichi cloud. Red portion, conversion baseline cross, Chiku span and price being below the cloud. So the 4 components for a short signal. That doesn't mean that we can't pump up first and then go back down, but it would mean that the short signal has been generated, so you would expect it to come down. It's the opposite of a pump signal, so it's a dump signal on a 4-hourly. So just take it for what it's worth. It could be 5, it could be 10, it could be 15%. It might not even play. They're only about 70% likely to play out, but it would bring us down below the 200 exponential as well. So that would reinforce the concept that we do go down. Let's have a quick look at the momentum on the 4-hourly. Currently turning down on the MACD. Excuse me, no real signs of anything on the RSI. It's just kind of wiggling around, and I suppose a loss of momentum taking place over here, but nothing significant. I would say nothing significant. Bit of bullish divergence. Bullish divergence ever so slightly, but not worthy of speaking about really. So a short signal would be generated on your 4-hourly if we were to close below 22,500. So altcoins then. So let's have a think about altcoins. So then the unfortunate part of the altcoin situation is this. So the closer we get to 40% dominance, the more risky it becomes to be in any kind of altcoin. Although we established yesterday that, just using Link as an example, there's quite a lot of altcoins with these kind of setups, pushing resistance on moving averages on their Bitcoin pairs with trend signals in play just very recently. So if these continue to play, then it means that altcoins will outperform Bitcoin, whether it's up or down. You're better off in some of these altcoins, it would suggest, than Bitcoin itself. It might only be for a 15 to 20% move, but it doesn't mean that the giant collapse will happen for altcoins more than Bitcoin. We saw this before back a couple of months back when I was saying I'm buying into altcoins around here. The setups are strong. The whole of Bitcoin came crashing down, and altcoins outperformed Bitcoin, basically making about 50% gains on Bitcoin. Interesting stuff. It can happen. It happened recently. Similar kind of setups to the ones that we're looking at now. So Bitcoin isn't the be all and end all. There are some setups and signals on other charts that make altcoins sort of shine in the dark, really, in comparison to Bitcoin, even if we do go back down in the market. I've got a collection over here. So we talked about Chainlink yesterday and the trend signal. Jasmine setup is still exactly the same as it was before. This is its tether pairing, broken out of a long descending triangle with bullish divergence, which is still in play, retesting moving averages, holding above the 1 cent zone, which is good. And if we look at the 4 hourly as well, we've got ourselves a golden cross, which has been retested. It's a bit messy, so ideally you'd want to stay above 1 cent. You could sustain a pullback down to 97, maybe even 96, and see if you bounce from there. We're outside of the major consolidation, and we're looking to try and pump on this one. I mean, that is not the best thing you've ever seen in the world, but it is a good setup. I do like it. Matic as well. If we go to Matic on the daily here for its tether pair, a pump signal was generated at around about 88 cents, 88.5 cents. We're holding on the Bollinger Band center here, so this is a setup in waiting, looking to push and break above the 200 exponential, which is currently hovering around at just over $1. That is a setup in play. You put yourself as it is only a pump signal, you put yourself a bit of a horizontal in here. You could even be looking at areas of about $1.40 on Matic on this next big push up. These are all setups and possibilities that are genuine on their own charts. Ethereum, we've got ourselves a nice golden cross over here on the 4 hourly, continuing up, which is great. We've also got above all major moving averages and currently trying to push the resistance over here. This is resistance, and it's resistance until broken, but if we measure that against its Bitcoin pair, incoming golden cross on the daily as well. Very, very nice looking setups again across the board. Doesn't mean that these all have to play out. Remember, the overall view on next week is one of volatility and potentially downside. But the biggest play for me next week is going to be this, which is oil. Oil, we got the everything bounce, and I suppose the top on oil. We said the top on oil was going to be here, 120. We're going to break down from here. Everybody in the world are going, you're wrong. Oil will never go down because of what's going on in the world. But it went down. It went down by 25%. And I still think it's going to go down further. I think 75 would probably be the bottom, maybe even 65 over time. And as in, not that much time from now, a few more months or so. But until then, we're ready for a decent bounce, and I would say the bounce is either already in play around this level now, or we're lucky enough to get about 85, 86. And if we do get that bounce, we've got a movement of moving averages around here, and I'd be putting the oil back up to around $100. And so that would be the biggest state and probably the better, more obvious trade coming into next week for me. And this matching that support and bouncy target, matching that with the Nasdaq's resistance and dumpy target, would only really put the dollar in a stronger position. And we got ourselves a bounce from this range, which is fine. Looks like a consolidation breakout. We're moving up to the Bollinger Band center. We'll be looking for the dollar to probably make a new high and then move on to our next target, which is between 112, 114. So we'll just call it 113. All right. The Dixie, you can measure and match price targets, but really it's about fighting the Fed. And we know that we can't fight the Fed. We know that, and like I say, we were speaking about how this is going to be a bullish year for the Dixie last September. We were talking about this to the disgust of people on YouTube who had listened to too much Twitter about how the dollar is going to zero. No, it's not. No, it's not. It's definitely not going to zero. Not yet. Again, you know, if you want to put it on a monthly, then fair enough. You've got a point. But this is a long time away. Okay, before we continue to make these lower lows and lower highs, we're talking decades apart, right? For the moment, we're tearing it up, and we could be looking for areas all the way up to 120, which seems like the probably most obvious place. But we may not. We may not get there. Again, we're only really going to see a pullback on this dollar. And a downtrend on the dollar when the Fed decide that they've had enough. There's no reason why they're going to do that. With the jobs figures that came through, we saw the dollar pump, and the reason for that is that more people in employment is generally seen as a good thing. So there's no need to lower rates to increase borrowing because people are working. They might be getting paid peanuts because of inflation being sky high, but there's no incentive for the Fed to continue to back off, let's just say, on raising rates. They're going to keep raising the rates. And same will be the case if we see more inflation on this next CPI coming through on Wednesday. There'll be no incentive to lower rates. They'll continue to raise those heights. Raise those heights, raise those rates. So next week, basically going to be a dodgy, volatile week. Altcoins presenting with some decent setups, despite the overall concern about Bitcoin and the general equity market's health. The biggest data play for me is going to be definitely oil. And I expect to see oil back up at or towards or at $100 a barrel. If we start to see it break above 106 again, then we go back up to where it started from and probably a little higher. But that's far and far away from here. Right, thanks for watching. I know it's a long video, but we are talking about a whole week's worth of projection across a variety of different markets there. If you like the content, like and subscribe, put the bell on, and if you really like it and you want more, join the Patreon. We do 2 live streams a week. We look at whatever chart it is that you want me to look at. And sometimes we do really honestly find some serious gems that I obviously wouldn't normally put on the channel. Thanks for watching, guys. Hope you have a nice day. Take it easy.